I guess we're talking about Destiny. We need to talk about Destiny by Metatron. I've heard what's been going on, but I can't quite pinpoint. Let's go. Let's see.
Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. You know how a few days ago I made a...
I don't know, is that... All I've heard is that Destiny, like, nuked out some horrendous take where it said, essentially, people that are on the conservative side need to be afraid of getting shot. That is literally all I know.
Video dedicated to talking about Hassan Piker. Well, today we've got another one, as you know, and this video is dedicated to Destiny. Now, whatever you may think about Destiny's ability to speak, debate, positions, rhetoric...
The only position that Destiny has is in the chair. That is his only position. The chair.
Political analysis is all completely irrelevant. Because as it was the case with Hassan Piker, he too has crossed multiple lines. I used to watch his debates sometimes. I watched him debate Andrew Wilson, I watched him debate Ben Shapiro, and in general I enjoyed listening to positions from both sides in order for me to maintain an open mind and seeing how people counter arguments that otherwise you would only hear within echo chambers. However, I completely stopped watching him after he made fun of the firefighter who lost his life.
The only thing I found really funny is in recent clip that I've seen is Milo completely making fun of Destiny for being a cuck. That was interesting.
During President Trump's assassination attempt. At that point, I thought that Stephen Bonnell had reached his new low, his lowest point, but boy was I wrong. It seems like that similarly to Piker Boy, Destiny has also been calling for political violence for a while and appears to have had no repercussions when it comes to possible deplatforming or even legal procedures when it comes to that so far. Watch.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Also, I did not do 5 black men. Stop projecting your sissy Twitter account that I've just recently found where you are in a cock cage and thinking about black meat onto me, okay, buddy? Anyways, I felt like a father today, father. I hope that one day you can be an actual father. Hopefully.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
Very much so. Like I've moved full on to like the political violence level or the real violence level when it comes to conservative people. Yeah, I think they need to be like excised from my fucking country. I think they are demonstrably fucking evil people by any moral system that most people would use.
Yeah, you instead.
What the fuck is wrong with this dude? Lock this motherfucker up. Isn't this jailable? Isn't this, can you not, is this not a, wait, is this considered a, why is this not considered a crime at this point? Why isn't the police standing right in front of his home right now? What is this? I like him very much, the truth and study and history. I watch his content occasionally.
They're a saint.
And then I just hate them because they tend to destroy the outcomes related to this country, which is what I'm concerned with. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a topic I'm not yet sort of ready to touch.
No, conservatives.
I find that very interesting because when we look at the state of Africa and look at what political system they have, they're also, many of them are socialist and doing quite bad and have big oligarchies. I find that very interesting. I find it's very interesting that he says that because when we look at all leftist societies, they're all also kind of cooked. Look at the Soviet Union. Look at a lot of the Scandinavian countries where a lot of people take you know, antidepressants. Look at the downfall of Germany. Yeah, look at how well Poland is doing. Sure, they say like Hassan said enough to consider a criminal. Why aren't they in jail? Privileges, probably. Yes, yeah, I agree. No, you remember it wrong. I don't know what bro is yapping. I remember it exactly right. I have picture proof. I spied.
Have been disgusting for years, which is why I don't give a fuck about anybody that winds up at any of these rallies and gets shot or whatever the fuck, okay? Because they had no problem making fun of Paul Pelosi. The entire world would be better off if these people were permanently removed from these platforms. Like, there is no downside and only upside to see people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool never be allowed to publicly broadcast their opinions ever again. It's exclusively bad stuff that happens. Conservatives have been
I think you have been disgusting for years. The
On his political takes and in bed, as far as I'm aware. You know, I feel with Destiny's Son. I feel with Destiny's Son. Imagine one day you go on Twitter and you see your father sucking another man's dick. See, I know why. You know why Destiny is like that? Imagine being hated by your own son. Imagine being despised by your own son, by your own flesh and blood. Huh, interesting. I don't like this dude at all.
Logical idiocy of trying to tell us that laughing and making fun of Pelosi's husband's situation is horrific and ending up doing the same thing. Hypocrite. Of course, making fun of what happened to Pelosi is wrong, was wrong, should be condemned.
Will always be wrong. Most certainly. I'm on the side of, if you celebrate anybody's death, you should be considered a danger to society. Straight up. There's no denial in that. You should be considered a danger to society.
But you did the same thing, so you are no better than the people you say you hate. You should hate yourself now. There are plenty of people in this world.
Not gonna lie, I believe he does already. I believe he does already. I don't know why we are even talking about Destiny again. We already know we all know all we need to know. Well, he's been pushing more and more for violence. That's why probably we need to talk about him again.
Who have never made fun or laughed at someone else's misfortunes. You are not one of them. So what happens? This is of course just the tip of the iceberg. Let's have a look at what kind of posts he has produced after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, shall we? For instance, there is this clip. During a Piers Morgan Uncensored, the following statement was made. Stop calling everyone you disagree with Nazis. There is a real world out there and your words can make people pick up guns. I agree. 100%. What does Mr. Bonnell say in response to that? You know what actually legitimizes widespread violence? Question mark. The President of the United States constantly reminding people that the 2020 elections was fraudulent. Close quotes. The words spoken, the claims made by the President of the United States do not legitimize any form of widespread violence. And in this type of mentality that causes outcomes such as what happened to Charlie Kirk. And mind you, this post was made 23 hours ago, which means after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. No. Whatever statement made by the President of the United States legitimizes you to use your words to disagree or make debunking videos if that's what you want to do. That's what it legitimizes you to do. I guess you could strike as long as you keep it peaceful, but that's it. What else did he post? Let's check this one on his page.
I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded. I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded.
I think that the man advocating for actual deaths is certainly more of a Satan spawn, more of evil, more part on the evil side than a man going to college campuses and debating with young Americans. He should change his tag from omni-liberal to soon omni-criminal. Maybe omni-retard.
I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually...
Right. Charlie Kirk is a Satan spawn, according to... And somehow CNN showed that. Absolutely, CNN showed this tolerance. I am sure that the left is gonna be packed of new people moving from the center thinking, man, you know what? This is what I really want. You convinced me now that you... Yeah, this is exactly the 12th... Absolutely. 12th of September. 12th of September. And what he has to say about it? Make a joke and change it into was. That's why you're... These people are the enemy of the left before being the enemy of the right. They are the reason so many centrists are turning right-wing. And they are the reason why so many moderate lefties are turning centrist. Prove me wrong. Now,
I can't prove you wrong because it's the truth. I'm gonna say this. When I see shit like this, right? When I see shit like this, I don't what. I live with 1,000 Charlie Kirks in my life, then one Destiny, or one Hassan. I take 10,000 Charlie Kirks, then one Destiny or one Hassan. Just saying. Not gonna lie, when I hear Destiny and Hassan speaking, sometimes I question that Nick Fuentes might not be such a bad guy. I know he's a bad guy, but it makes me question.
Of course, he made more videos about it. Let's have a look. Is he being at least basically decent? I'm not asking for him to like Charlie Kirk. That would be a lie, clearly, so I appreciate honesty. But what is he saying? Is he being decent? Decent and Destiny are two Ds you will never see together anywhere. He says, don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death. You gotta be joking. His body was still warm and his wife is still grieving, and this is what he does. And by the way, he was mocking his wife as well, as she was like kneeling in front of the casket crying, and he was mocking her. This guy is vile. This guy is anything and everything he accuses the opposite side to be.
So essentially what you're saying is this man is, in its core, not just a demon, but also very much a fascist. And I know that Metatron has some, he's Italian? In some way, shape, or form? So you can also use that word.
Whenever this guy sees someone vile on the other side, which of course exists, vile people exist everywhere. There are vile people in my religion, Christianity. That doesn't make Christianity wrong. It just makes the people who are within Christianity that happen to be vile, vile. And this is what people like him are doing. They take the full group and they apply the worst rhetoric from a single bad apple onto the entire group, and then they say their call to actions for violence. This is the difference. This is an important aspect that needs to be underlined. Do not take bad apples and apply them to everyone. Take the bad apples and hold them accountable. But he says, don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death. Excuse me, what? First of all, who is asking to apologize? Look at the mental manipulation there. No one is asking.
Nobody wants you to apologize. That's first of all, who would, the only one who technically, realistically could be in the position to ask for forgiveness, right, is the dude shooting him, realistically, even from Charlie Kirk's perspective. Nobody else could realistically apologize. The only thing you're getting is the consequences, which is that you may end up getting fired or your business will fail. That's the only thing.
Someone who didn't do anything to apologize. However, if there is someone like you who has been constantly pushing for violence onto people you disagree with, yes, you should apologize, but you won't because you wanted this. He said it, he stated it. He said this is what he wanted. This is the America he wants to live in, an America where people cannot freely express their ideas without the fear of being gunned down like animals. This is the America he wants, which is why he's now doubling down and saying, don't.
This is the world he wants. And fun fact, we have people like, again, European perspective, we have people like Destiny here in Germany too, at least from what I can tell. We have people with similar thoughts, if you could call that thoughts, like him.
Apologize. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me my analysis is incorrect.
This sounds like a bad thing to say. This sounds like a bad thing to say, and people don't like to think of it this way, but
it is a bad thing to say.
The reality is there are like 4 different worlds that we can live in, and it relates to like this concept of like a prisoner's dilemma. In the prisoner's dilemma, I think a lot of people talk about this. I don't know how many people are aware of how it actually works, but for prisoner's dilemma, the issue with it is it's a...
Who speaks faster, XQC or Destiny? Enunciation. If you want, I can give you some diction lessons, Destiny. Since I am, after all, a professional language teacher, you need to learn to enunciate.
Paradoxical setup, kind of, where there is a positive outcome for 2 different players. However, both players basically become incentivized using logic to take the worst outcome, basically, for collectively. So you have 2 different people who
I think, hot take, I think speaking fast, not always, but there's people who speak fast on purpose to make it harder to follow. I've seen it as a tactic.
Who are caught, and the two people who are caught are being interrogated by the police. And then the question is do you cooperate with the police and rat out your friend, or do you not cooperate with the police? I shouldn't be using cooperate. Or do you not work with the police and then you cooperate with your friend? That's supposed to be phrased, right? Okay, we'll say prisoner 1 cooperates.
Okay, I don't care about this. Also because, and then people tell me I use word salads.
There is a worse world than this one here. We're just pretending that it is. The violence to each other. Civility.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where we kind of want to be.
Yes.
All right. We want to be.
Well, you don't. We do. You want violence on the streets. So no, you don't want civility. Don't put we. You and I are not the same.
We? There is no we. There is no we. There is legitimately no we. There is legitimately no we. I guess he is referring to we as the fuckers in this chat. That is the we.
Here where things are civil. All right? Meaning we're not killing each other.
Right.
Or having a bad time and acting violence with each other. This would be like ideal. This is a good world. Okay?
Yeah.
Right now, at best, we're in this world. Okay?
Which you created.
Nobody wants to say this, but the problem is that this here is not the worst world. We're just pretending that it is. Okay?
Of course. So
the reason why it doesn't make sense for Democrats to disavow over and over and over again when Republicans won't do it is because there is a worse world for this. And the worst world is...
I would like to underline, not to interrupting too much, but I would like to underline. Did you see what he's doing? Democrats are disavowing, so the whole group are saying violence bad, but Republicans are not doing that. Did you not see the wave of Democrats and liberals that had been specifically laughing and giggling for Charlie Kirk's death? And I found some TikTokers who specifically asked, as a call to action, now go and do Charlie's children and wife.
I've seen those clips as well, right? Which is like crazy. Which is like crazy. Which is like, that is crazy, right? That is insane. Saying like, yeah, his wife and his kids next. Like, that is crazy. That is monstrous. This man, if the people saying this are straight up monsters. Straight up evil. I'm saying it again. There is no coexistence. That is crazy. That's disgusting. This is disgusting, I agree. Wow! The fuck is in this? I don't mean you guys. I mean these guys.
Is he out of his mind? The reality is, because I'm the one who tells that this is a political manipulator. I tell it how it is. The reality is that there are some people that condemn violence, usually the overwhelming majority, and then there are people who want violence. However, what happened in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination and the aftermath, you are probably a liberal and you're watching this and you're saying, no, I don't want that. I don't want violence. I'm against violence. I didn't like Charlie Kirk, but I'm against violence. Great. I never said all liberals. He's the one who speaks in full groups. I don't. I'm saying
it isn't all liberals. It's a small minority, a very loud small minority, granted, but it is a small visible minority that could be considered dangerous now. For sure.
There is a certain number of people that are specifically celebrating, laughing, giggling, and that is causing a strong reaction on the right. Now, are there some people on the right that are pushing it too far? Yes. If someone on the right says, now we need to retaliate off destiny.
When somebody says we need to retaliate, this person deserves to get called out just as much. Because it's just going to create a feedback loop where one commits violence, the other one commits violence again, and you just have like a back and forth. That is also not good.
It's wrong, and I will call it out. That's not the way to do it. But let's not pretend that the same level of laughing and giggling happened when the Democratic senators were offed. I didn't see. these thousands and thousands of conservatives, particularly kids, going around saying, we got this person in the neck, we got this person in the neck. I didn't see that. I didn't.
Yeah. True. That wasn't, yeah, that is very true. Nobody has done, like, when those two Democratic lawyers were unfortunately, the lives were unfortunately taken, that did not happen. Like, that nobody celebrated there. Nobody did.
Didn't see that. And if there were some, which is why it is absolutely abhorrent that now is gonna pretend as if all liberals want no violence, but all Republicans never say that. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. This is why centrists turn right.
I'll call it genocide, but I mean, you can put whatever you want here. Genocide, absolute violence, one-sided firing squad, whatever, execution.
Right.
There is a worse world than this one here.
We all know that.
And that worse world is one side enacting violence.
Of course.
And the problem is that the Republican rhetoric is pushing us in that direction, where the Republicans want to push us here, right? Where it's a Dem utter loss. And they do that by already trying to say that we are here, right? You've heard the Republicans say over and over again, it's all left-wing violence, it's all left-wing violence, it's all left-wing violence. And they do that as a call to their own side that they need to respond with violence.
And the way to prove them wrong, if that's what you want to do, is to condemn the shooting of the children, the Christian children, by the way, that were killed by someone who clearly wasn't a Republican. I think it's obvious. And then also this Charlie Kirk's assassination. You do not have the moral ground if you laugh. It's one of the two. You got to choose. I would have...
You do not... So, you do not have the moral ground to argue against violence when you commit violence. I do not have the moral ground as a man if I get physically assaulted by my partner, and then I'm gonna slap the shit out of her. That it just doesn't make sense. I do not have the moral ground. If I get bullied, I go and bully the next person because, hey, I got bullied, I can bully that person. That does not work. You either say violence is completely off the table or you're not better. And we can tell which side you picked, which is you're not better.
Respected Democrats if they had said, and I do respect those Democrats like that have been condemning this, but a lot of you guys are laughing about it, so you lose the moral ground. Be angry at those people on your side that are laughing about this, you included. You laughed, you said you were gonna make fun of the firefighter. You were the one who pushed the people in your audience to now go around and laugh, so you lost the moral ground. You want to regain it? Condemn the violence, but don't make a video saying don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death.
So the reason why I'm not sympathetic to people saying we need to turn down the temperature, well, look, just because the other side isn't doing it doesn't mean we can't. No, we're not in the worst world right now. This world, right, which is this part of the prisoner's dilemma box, this world is preferable right here to this world.
You see what he's doing? Once again, mental manipulation. It's as clear as day. He's giving you an answer that is correct. Yes, the world with violence is preferable to the world with genocide. That's correct, but it's unrelated. That's what he does. So he says something, and you listen to it, and you're like, well, yeah, I agree with that. But it has nothing to do with, oh, that's why we shouldn't call for stopping violence or lowering temperature. Do you see how unrelated the two things are? And he's doing it.
True. True, he is doing that. These two are unrelated. Because, right, he doesn't condemn it. Like, he doesn't condemn it. Essentially, he just shifts the blame and says, oh, the conservatives are originally... Like, basically how he wants to put it is that the conservatives are at fault that Charlie Kirk was shot. Which doesn't make sense. Because it wasn't... Because this side, in the recent times, right, the Republican side, has not... What's the word? Constantly used the rhetoric that all on the right are Nazis and I'm gonna put everyone on the left into concentration camps. That is not that site wasn't doing that. Considering that, right? It does make sense because Democrats were ruling before. You think about tactic as bully the bullies. I see it as half excuse to be a bully. off self-defense from getting bullied. So what is your take? The problem is that you want to, obviously, you want to take the moral high ground, right? You don't want to bully. That's the problem, right? That's the dilemma. However, that also means that the side that is bullying you, so to speak, is going to use your morals, basically. Like, they're going to use that against you. Which, like, for example, right now, it's like, oh, cancel culture. I thought you were against cancel culture. They're, like, trying to use your views then against you. It's like in a world where that wouldn't happen, I would prefer to, so to speak, not bully. But how do you defend yourself then? That is the question. It's hard to say. I'm 50-50 on this. I'd prefer the moral high ground, but with one side doing worse and worse shit, the question becomes, how do you defend yourself then? Can you still keep your morals if the other one is essentially forcing you? It's hard to say. What's wrong to bully people? If they are bad people, I'd make an exception, or they won't stop ever. You gotta stand your ground. That could also be a reasonable take. It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
On purpose. He's saying what he wants to say, which is the message, don't tone down the violence, that's what he's saying. And then, because people who are decent, left or right, or center, are gonna be like, well, no, we should tone down the violence, what are you on about? And then he's gonna say, but no, because it's preferable to have this world over this one, isn't it? And
the thing is, right, when he says that, this one, if you don't tone down the violence, you won't have just this phase, right? Because there is a third stage that I think he doesn't want to point out. There is a third stage to this. Right, you could have this option, you could have this option, you could also have a third option in the middle, which is that you get a civil war. He forgets that option. That is a thing, though, that does exist, where both sides try to annihilate each other. And I think that might be actually the worst option. This might be stage 4. I feel like if you remain too long on this side, you're gonna, on this level, you're gonna receive this level. That's how I see it. But he doesn't understand that, I think.
then people are gonna be like, yeah, I mean, sure, it is preferable. No, civility is preferable, you liar.
Or this world, right? And the one-sided calls for just us, we just need to disavow. No, I'm sorry. The President of the United States, without having any idea at all who the actual shooter is, has already blamed one side.
Because there was a bullet which said, catch this fascist. Which is the side that calls the other fascist?
It is only the left. The right isn't using fascist as a term, though not gonna lie, we should maybe start using it. Though technically that would maybe start confusion.
As someone who receives that insult constantly, be real, Destiny. Be honest. Once again, I'm honest on my end. I'm not saying all Democrats do this. I'm not saying all liberals are like this. I've seen a lot in my comments that say I'm left-wing, but it's horrible. I didn't like what Charlie Kirk said, but this is unbelievable, and I strongly... Great. That's a good lefty. Differently from you. You instead demonize the entirety.
In its core, you don't want either extreme, right? You don't want right-wing extreme. You don't want left-wing extremist either, in its core. And to be fair, this entire politics thing, in its core, left or right, we technically want the same thing. We want the best outcome for everyone. We just have different methods of achieving that. But at its core, we all want the same thing. Well, except for these fuckers, right? For like people like Hassan, Destiny, and then on the right we have like Nick Fuentes and others.
Of the other side, and then add calls to violence. This is the difference between me and him. If you appreciate my content so far...
No, that's the end of the video. I agree with Metatron here quite a bit. It just makes sense. I don't want to talk about Destiny anymore. It's just crazy that we literally have people just walk around and be like, ah, yes, genocide an entire group of people. Sure, go ahead. That is essentially what it was at. This man would want me dead, and I don't want him dead. What is this? I would never want, no matter how disgusting this fucker is, I would never want him dead, but this man would want me dead. He would want my wife dead. He would want my future children dead. He would want my chatters dead. It is crazy. It is crazy. It is genuinely crazy. Blah. This fucker is disgusting.